My name is Michelle Eiland. I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. And my story is about time that I was almost abducted at 7 years old. So my older sister and I sometimes leave the house together. She went to a different school. I went to a school way far out, but she went to a school right up the street. So she'll walk to school, and on her way out, she'll walk me across the street. But that day she was running a bit late. I had to walk out by myself. So that morning, like a regular morning, got dressed, got ready for school. Noticed that my sister, she wasn't ready yet. So I'm like, oh, she must be running late. Then my mom tells me, she has the baby in her hand, and she's like, go ahead, just walk across the street. I'll, come out on the balcony and I'll watch you walk across the street. And then after that, I literally walked out my front door across the street until I didn't make it across the street. I felt hands covered my eyes. It just felt like he had like tape, some rough gloves on his hand, put his hands on my face, over my eyes, and then he scooped me up, and next thing you know, I was in the back of a car. But I'm sure he had my my mouth covered as well, so that of course I wouldn't scream so no one would hear me. At that moment, I don't know what I thought, because no one's ever spoken to me like at that age about what to do if that does happen, because nobody really expected that to happen. He put his hand over my eyes and my mouth so that I couldn't scream. He put me in the car. He got back in the front seat. That's when I began to scream. He was like, shut up. He said, shut up before I kill you. And then he literally took a sock and put it in my mouth. And I was just scared. I didn't know, if anybody would hear me or if he would drive off with me. I didn't know what the next moment held. I didn't know. I was trying to scream loud enough so that someone in the house could hear me, in my house could hear me right across the street, or maybe a neighbor. I was screaming as loud as I could so that maybe someone could hear me and come save me. I was screaming. He said, shut up, little girl, before I kill you. After that is when he took the sock, the dirty sock. He reached back and he put it in my mouth so that I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't have bound or anything. Like, he didn't tie my hands up so I couldn't take it out my mouth, but that's what he did. He put it in my mouth. When he said, shut up before I kill you, I'm like, oh no, I need to stop screaming, because I'm not trying to die. Like, I'm only 7 years old. Before I read the news stories, based off of how I was feeling, what I know, I was just sitting in the car. I was just sitting in the back seat, and I guess just waiting for him to see if he was going to drive off. But he never drove off. I don't know how long that whole thing, I don't know if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, I don't know how long I was in the car. I don't know how long this incident lasted. I don't know. I don't remember. It's just like, it's so traumatizing. I just don't know. But I do remember finally at some point seeing some people come over to the car, and there were three main people that came over. At the moment, I didn't know how many people it was, but I just remember someone coming up to the car. Multiple people opened up the door, but they opened up the driver's seat door. I was still in the back seat. Started beating that man. They beat him, and they knocked the keys out the ignition, and I don't know if they pulled him out the car. I didn't know whether the door was locked or unlocked. My older sister, she was still across the street, so I don't know how long that lasted. I guess she was running way behind, or maybe the incident didn't last as long as, I don't know. But she ended up coming over to the car. She knocked on the window, and she's like, get out the car, get out the car. I'm like, oh, yeah, I was just back there. I guess I was just in shock. I didn't even try to get out. There was a lady. She was actually walking back home from walking her child to their bus stop. She was on her way. She was walking up the street. It was dark, but she saw the man. And what she did, she started to scream and yell in the middle of the street. She's like, he got the baby, he got the baby, he got her, he got her. And then next thing you know, the balcony was open. So my mom was coming out. She was coming out, but she came out. She was like, wait, what color coat did she have on? She said, just have on a purple coat. The lady was like, yeah, she did. So next thing you know, the neighbors start coming out their homes because they heard the lady. I know in particular in the news story, there were 2 men and that 1 woman that came over to the car before everyone else, before my mom could make it downstairs, and before my sister's dad made it downstairs. Those 3 individuals came over. They opened up the driver's seat door. They beat the man with an umbrella. They knocked the keys off the ignition. They beat the man up, basically. Someone had to call the police. Next thing you know, my sister comes over to the car. She knocks on the window, and she's like, Michelle, get out the car. I'm like, oh, okay. So I wasn't even thinking. I was in shock. The door was unlocked. But when I did get out the car, just walked across the street, with my mom. The police came. I had to go to the hospital that day. I had to go to Children's Hospital to get I guess it was a rape kit. And they did check my mouth, like from when he put the sock in my mouth. And I had scrapes in my mouth from the sock. So that's about the only injury besides the mental. And, you know, I didn't really experience any physical harm that day, which was cool, I guess. But emotional wounds are like forever. In his trunk, after reading the news stories, like when I was old enough to read them, I searched them out because I knew his name. So I searched the news story, and it was several news stories. I read the background, and it's like in the back of his car, he had rope, nylon rope. He had a blanket. They called it a rape kit. That's what it was. But he's telling the people that I was just going to take pictures of her, a 7-year-old, but you had a rape kit in the car, in your trunk. That was a lot of it. Maybe I tried to forget it on purpose. I don't remember it moment by moment. I just remember that we got in the back of the police car. That's when they had I guess they still have the same seats, the hard plastic seats. Joe was up there, saw the doctors, and after that, I was back at home. And I did not go back to school. I was in 2nd grade. I don't know what was going on with that school or the bus company, but it's like sometimes the bus would come and sometimes it wouldn't come. It was strange. So yeah, me and my mom, we did have to go down to the courthouse, and I did have to tell them my story, what happened, so that they can use it, you know, to prosecute him. So after doing so, and this is from reading the news stories, when I could finally read them. This is 1998. From reading the news stories, I saw that he was actually, like, his actual charges, if they added them all together, they would have gave him maybe about 40 years. But I guess the judge decided, hey, he hasn't offended before. He's a service to the community. Let's just reduce it and just give him 10 years and 5 years probation. Because he would have got kidnapping, attempted rape. They found photos on his computer and all kinds of things. All those charges he would have done a long time, but they just condensed everything into whatever. I don't know what they did, but he only like, again, just 10 years and like 5 years probation or parole. He was a firefighter. So, of course, you know, they weren't going to give him the very harsh penalty. He was a firefighter. Again, he was a service to the community. He had been a firefighter for years. As far as his criminal career, there have been girls in the neighborhood who have gone missing and haven't been found. It's like, could he have done this before? Because he had everything he needed. He had the rope. He had the tape. He had the blanket. He had everything he needed. He could have done it before. However, I do know that they did find pictures of naked children on his computer. I don't know if he took the pictures, or that is one of the charges that he was going to receive, even just for having that on his computer. And again, he did tell them, I was just going to take pictures of her. So he could have possibly taken those pictures. So the effects that's had on me. Sometimes I feel like kind of develop maybe PTSD. During the daytime, I go places by myself, but I'm always aware of my surroundings. I'm always watching what's going on around me. I'm looking at who's here, who isn't, the closest exit to leave the place. And then at night, I hate walking by myself at night. Even now today, and that was years ago, but that just stuck with me. But I know that I am safe because I feel that I believe in God. I really never questioned the situation that happened to me. I never was mad about it. Like, why did that happen to me? Why? I just accepted it and I lived with it and I prayed about it. It just lets me know that I'm protected and I have a purpose in life. So that's what that did for me. Like, of course, yeah, like I have the, maybe PTSD sometimes, but the bigger picture, the bigger thing is that I know that I'm protected. But I'm 7 years old. I can't fend for myself. I'm saved. I'm older. I have more strength and I can fend for myself. So I know I'm okay and I'm protected. I was 7 years old, 2nd grade. And I never finished the 2nd grade. This was October 30th, 1998, the day before Halloween. Scariest thing that could happen. We been scared on Halloween. I didn't go back to school until I was in 3rd grade and I went to a different school. And the crazy thing is that I went to my new school. I met people there. A few years later, they were like, you all have to go to a different school. We're tearing down this school and you're going to merge with another school. We ended up merging with my old school, which was kind of crazy. So I got to see some of my friends from that school, and they're like, what happened to you? What happened? I think they probably heard about the story, but I never really had to, confront them. It's been years that it's passed, but they know what happened. So it was kind of like, well, I have to go back and face these people that I haven't seen in so long. And tell them what happened to me. I don't have flashbacks. I don't have nightmares. And also I'm like, I'm a woman of faith. I think that's one thing that does help me, because when I think about it, I'm like, wow, that situation. After that, I've been through more in my life. I've been through things. I don't really go through things today like I did then, like as a child. Now, I think all that just made me who I am today. When I look back on those things, I'm like, wow, I'm here. You know, people take their own lives. And I'm like, I can't, like, I'm not doing it. Like, I've been through enough. I'm not going to put myself through even more. Like, I'm okay. I haven't really had any counseling either. No, I went to counseling when my sister passed away. So that happened when I was 7. And then when I was 9 years old, 2 years later, that same sister that told me to get out the car, she passed away from cancer. I was kind of pretty much going through it emotionless, basically. But yeah, I feel like I'm in a good place, and I could definitely be out in the streets doing worse, but I want to help people. So these days I am doing much better. I'm currently in school for social work, so I can help people who've been through things like the things that I've been through. I'm a working woman. I have my home, my car, my job. Like I'm doing pretty good for myself. And my mom and my sisters tell me, and my dad tell me how proud they are of me and the woman that I've become. Even after everything I've been through, perseverance, that is everything. The best thing that I could do was to go to school. So I may have started a little late, but I'm in school now, and I just want to give back and help. Like the people that helped me, they helped me. And I really appreciate that. Like to the point that when I got to a certain age, I actually reached out to the people. I reached out to them, and I'm like, hey, thank you so much. And I keep in contact with them. There was one guy that I couldn't, he passed away before I could say thank you, but I know he knows. I'm very thankful. That's my life today. I still keep in contact with the ones who saved me. Well, who helped save me from that car. Some people believe in a higher power, some people don't. But I say if you do, pray about it. And if you know someone else who has been through it, pray for them. You have to be strong. You have to tell yourself, I can do this. I'm here for it. You have to just remember, you're here. If you've been through a similar situation, you're still here. You're here for a reason. You have a purpose. So there's something on this earth that you have to do. And that's something that you have to figure out. But you're here for a reason. You have to remember that. Before I had a younger sister, it was just me and her, me and my older sister. So, you know, I would go with her to her friend's house. We would hang out a lot at the house. We would run around, jump on the beds, and make Play-Doh and little things like that. So, you know, I really do miss my sister. And again, she is the one who told me to get out the car. 2 years later, I was 9 years old, and she passed away. She had leukemia. Just 14 years old. She was young. At first, she was home. She was taking her medication at home. But then she got admitted into the hospital. She was supposed to have a transfusion. It didn't go too well. So she was in the hospital for a while. She was up and talking to us, but she was in the hospital. She couldn't even open her eyes. It was just like, it was all coming to an end. That was a very sad moment in my life. I think that hurt me even more than me almost being abducted, because I actually lost my older sister. So that's why I have younger sisters. And I try to be the big sister that, you know, I wish that she could have been to me today. When I'm driving or walking or whatever I'm doing, I see a child walking by themselves, whether it's from school to the store. I'm like, why is this child out here walking alone? Like, do people not know what happens to children? And it's so sad. And then they leave kids in a car unattended. My first thing is to go to Facebook and make a status like, what are people doing? Like, and hopefully it reaches someone so that they don't make that same mistake, because you never know when someone is watching. Kids get abducted every day. We get Amber Alerts a lot, very often. So I would think people would keep a closer eye on their children, but hey, I don't have any children, but when I do, I will make sure that I keep a close eye on mine because of the situation that happened. I would hope I wouldn't be too overprotective, because again, I am a woman of faith, so I do believe that my child will be protected. But I will definitely do what I have to do to make sure that my child is protected.